Hi, today we're going to be talking about the PPP loan, how to apply, how to answer the application questions, and if you even qualify. So stay tuned and I will show you that in this video. My name is Ana Lantigua and I'm a CPA with over 20 years of experience and I'm known as the Tax Chica. Today I'm going to be providing you with valuable information that I hope you stay until the end, and as always, check with your tax professional. So now I am going to explain to you about the PPP loan. This loan is for small businesses, and the process of applying for the business has been very confusing. Also, there's a lot of confusion of, do you qualify? If you are a small business, if you file Schedule C on your personal tax return, you are a small business. So therefore, you can also apply for the PPP loan. Another thing that you want to keep in mind is that you will be selecting self-employed on the application process. And you're going to need different documentation if you're self-employed than if you are a small business with an S Corp or a partnership. The documentation varies. So I will give you examples. Don't worry, but I want to go through the application because the application is the same no matter if you're self-employed or if you have a small company. But then, Tax Chica, what is a small company? A small company is one that has less than 500 employees. Well, that basically picks up a lot of companies. And that is why the CARES Act money that was approved the first go round didn't really help a lot of small businesses, because some big businesses like the Lakers applied and swallowed up or tied up a lot of money. But don't worry, they said they're going to give it back. Now, I'm going to go to the computer and show you how the application looks like and where you need to go. So now we are at the application. This is the Paycheck Protection Program. And like you can see, I am at the home.treasury.gov website. I will be putting links below on how to get to this application. Now, on the top, the first thing that you must check is if you're a sole proprietor. That means you file Schedule C, a partnership, a C Corp, S Corp, LLC, independent contractor, eligible self-employed individual, a 501c3 nonprofit, and these are all different other companies that can apply, but I am going to be focusing on the sole proprietor, independent contractor, or eligible self-employed individual, because those are the individuals that really didn't get to apply for these loans because they didn't even think they qualified. And who are those? Those are the plumbers that are self-employed, the electrician, the pool service guy, the lawn care company that files Schedule C, the AC repair guy. All of those qualify for the PP loan. If you're learning something, press that like. Are you an Uber driver? Are you a Lyft driver and that's your only source of income? You qualify for the PP program. But a lot of those small businesses didn't know that they qualified. Are you a freelance video editor and you're out of business? Yes, you qualify. Do you do cleaning, housekeeping services, and you're out of business? You qualify. So I'm going to go through the application, and remember, the worst thing that they can say is no. So let's go to it. So again, we're here at the application. The business name is the legal name of the business. So if you're an S Corp, this will be how you file your tax return. If you're an individual filing a Schedule C on your tax return, your personal name goes here. your business address as it appears on your Schedule C, or your S Corp, or your partnership, or your C Corporation. The ITIN for the business, but if you're an individual, you're going to be entering your social security number. The business phone number is where they will contact you, so please put a phone number that you answer. The primary contact and email. Email is very important in this process because you will be signing the documents electronically. The average monthly payroll. So that is the toughest question that a lot of small businesses did not know how to answer. So let's say you were in business for all of 2019 and you have payroll. That means that every quarter you file quarterly payroll returns. At the end of the year, you file an annual 940, Form 940. That form gives the total payroll for the whole year. All you have to do is go look at that form and it will give you the number, okay? And that number you divide by 12. And that is the number that goes here in box 1, the average monthly payroll. I'm going to divide that number by 12 and then multiply it by 2.5. Now, this says plus EIDL, which is the Economic Injury Disaster Loan. If you have that a loan that you applied, you must include it here. Then the number of employees. This is the number of employees that you had at February 15, or basically during the cycle that you're calculating. Keep in mind, this number is crucial when it comes to the forgiveness, but that's another video which I will explain. But make sure that you enter the number of employees. Other item is payroll, the purpose of the loan, and obviously you can select more than one. I highly recommend that you select them all. Payroll, lease, mortgage interest, and utilities. Now, the applicant ownership. If you are a business which is owned more than 20%, you must enter your name, your title in that business, and your ownership percentage. So if that is 100%, then you would enter 100%. But if it's 50%, you must enter both owners. And if you have more than 2 owners that own more than 20%, you must list them separately by even attaching a sheet. Like it says right here, attach a separate sheet if necessary. Now, there are several questions over here. If there is a yes in one of these answers, there might be a good possibility that you don't qualify. Then there are other certifications. Basically, you must initial all of these certifications in order to submit your application. If you don't certify one of these items, your application most likely would be declined. And finally, it must be signed, dated by an authorized representative of the company with the title. This is the basic application for the SBA. Now, banks also have this plus a little bit of their own. They also provide a calculation process on how to calculate the number that goes on the average payroll. This example is for those that file Schedule C, the sole proprietor, the person that is self-employed, the plumber, the full service guy, the video editor, the realtor. If you are self-employed, you are an independent contractor, you don't have a company, this would be the way that you would be looking at your tax return. You're going to go to your individual tax return, Schedule C, for last year, 2019. And in my example here, Mr. Pedro Martinez does business as Best Full Service. This is not a company. This is him doing business as
Best Pull Service. This is a fictitious name, and you can tell by seeing that he has a social security. If this was a limited liability company with just one owner, then the employer identification number would be here, and the name would have comma LLC. Now, the business address goes here. In some cases, you might have a commercial space that you rent, and that address would be here on your tax return. But if not, it might just be where you live. But for the purposes of this example, we are going to go to line 31. Line 31 is the net profit or loss for the business. In order to qualify for the payroll protection program, this number must be positive. This is your payroll. This is what's considered payroll. So in order to calculate the average payroll, you're going to take this number. In this example, it's $68,670. You're going to divide that by 12, and you're going to get an average payroll of $5,722.50. Now, you're going to multiply that $5,722.50 by 2.5 and enter the loan amount of $14,306.25 on the application. Now, this application normally is done through your bank. But if your bank is not helping you, I highly recommend that you click on one of the links below, whether you do PayPal or Intuit. I'm going to give you an example of what the PayPal screen looks like so that you can see that the questions are the same. They just look a little different because the form is electronically online.
Okay, so now we are at, and I'm using this as an example, and I'm just using PayPal loan application because I want you to see that the different banks are asking the same questions that you saw on the SBA loan application, paper application. Basically, it's the information and it's the same questions, but this will basically complete the application in digital format for you in the bank's website. So again, go through this information so that when you get your lender's application, you have the information that you need. They might use that same identical form or a variation of this form, but all of this information will be included in your lender's application. Okay, so now we looked at the application on the computer and we saw an example of what it could potentially look at like digitally for your lender. Now, you're going to be asked several information, so have your social security number ready, a copy of last year's tax return, both for your personal and for your business. The other item that you're going to need is those payroll returns. And keep in mind that this is not a grant. This is a loan that must be repaid at 1% interest. And the repayment period is 2 years from funding. Now, your payment can be deferred for 6 months. And what does that mean? It means that once you get the money, you can say, look, I don't want to pay now. I need a 6 months break before my first payment. The other item is once the funding takes place, you have 8 weeks to use this money. Now, if you take longer, that is okay because it's a loan. However, it's a loan with the provision that some of it can be forgiven. And in order to determine how much of it is forgiven,
you must use it in the 8 weeks after funding. So if you don't use it within those 8 weeks, you risk none of that loan being forgiven. Now, there is basically steps that you can take that will benefit you for this loan to be forgiven. But I will be explaining that in my next video, which is just the recommendations of what you should do in order to get this loan forgiven, or at least a good portion of it forgiven. And as always, you must check with your tax professional. Well, I hope that you learned how to apply for the PPP, that you like if you did, and that you press the round circle and subscribe. In addition, I will place a link to the W-9, which will be a form that you have to complete if you get approved for this loan as part of the application. It gives me great joy in my heart that you're here with me until the end, and I send you a great big kiss.